¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome weekend, or had an awesome weekend, I should say. Welcome. Heat, how's it going? Quad Bennett, Wolf Glen, welcome. Howdy, I'm really digging this new Green Day album, Saviors. Nice. I still need to listen to it. Need to plug it in on YouTube. Did you have a nice weekend? Yeah, I had a pretty chill weekend. Hope you enjoyed your Mother's Day weekend. Same, that's good. All right, folks, we got a few things to go through. Folks, before we get started, if you enjoy the content and want to help support the channel, you can by hitting the follow button. It really does help us out. You can keep liking the stream on the YouTube. I see you and I appreciate it. Subscribe on the YouTube channel, 254 if you have already done so. Join the Discord. Pleasantries over. What ish has happened now? We got a few. Whew, we got a few. That's right. Join the Discord, and if you want to support the channel, consider checking out the merch store by typing !merch. All right, let's get started, folks. I think we should probably start here, eh? All right.
I think all of us went through a period of time of thinking, no, they can't be serious. We'd seen them kind of play this game multiple times.
So I read the whole thing, and then I read it again, and I read it again.
How do we know this is legitimate? How do we know this is being done in good faith?
If it's a corporation, you can almost like bet money that it's not being done in good faith. That's usually a pretty freaking good rule of thumb.
Somebody starts speaking, and I realize it's our campaign director. The words that she said will stick with me for a long time. She said, "The company has decided to stop fighting your union." And I think I paused and I was like, what?
In late February, after 2.5 years of constant battles between Starbucks and unionizing workers, something unexpected happened. The world's biggest coffee chain asked the union to negotiate a first contract. So what changed? How did an upstart union get a $100 billion corporation to see the light, much less engage in a promising first round of bargaining? When Starbucks approached the union in February, its track record, hundreds of illegal firings, crackdowns, store closures, and broken promises, had leaders at Starbucks Workers United naturally skeptical.
They had just issued a statement on December 8th of 2023 saying they were ready to turn over a new leaf and that they were promising to bargain with all of the unionized stores and we'd have a contract by the end of 2024. And then we continued to see them, break US labor law, commit ULPs and retaliate against workers in the union stores.
But the company was serious this time, and suddenly desperate enough that it agreed to workers' terms for talking, including the pay increases, benefits, and credit card tipping illegally withheld from them.
And then I ran inside in tears and I started running around our whole store telling everyone that we were getting credit card tipping and that we were going to the bargaining table.
And the bargaining, it seems, has been legitimately productive thus far.
It is pretty incredible being able to be there in that room and see with my own two eyes that Starbucks is actually ready to make peace with us.
It came as a surprise to
Nice.
many workers, but the about face didn't come out of nowhere. So what was the union's strategy? How did an upstart union force one of the largest corporations in the world to the negotiating table?
The reality is with most of these large, multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporations, you got to hit them where it hurts. And those two places are, the bottom line and their reputation.
True.
Getting Starbucks to the table required a multitude of factors, including strikes, relentless organizing, a shareholder uprising, and a deposed billionaire CEO who was dead set against it.
Could you ever see doing that and embracing the union as part of it? No.
Here's how
Go F yourself.
Starbucks Workers United overcame the biggest union-busting campaign in modern memory in their own words. Lydia Claypool is a barista and organizer at a Starbucks in Overland Park, Kansas. She was fired a week after a one-day walkout for showing up to work with a sunburn.
Everyone else at our store that had been in the organizing committee or just a strong supporter ended up leaving or also being fired.
Seattle has had 12 stores vote in favor of unionizing.
Nice.
And 4 of those stores have been shut down, which leaves us with 8 union stores.
Caitlin Coughlin works at the flagship Starbucks Roastery in Seattle. Nationwide, Starbucks closed a total of 23 stores to clear out unionized workers, kill organizing drives, and chill future organizing.
We just stopped getting leads. People stopped reaching out. The first thought that came into people's minds when they thought of the word union, it was no longer, oh, that's what those people in Buffalo are doing. I heard that they're fighting for better working conditions. It was, oh, if you do that, your store gets shut down.
Yeah, pure evil. And the thing is, they can't shut all of the stores down, right? It's a scare tactic.
So I don't want to do that.
I think every other day I woke up probably feeling like, how much longer can I possibly go on? How much longer can these, at this point, almost 10,000 workers, how can we, how do we get up every day and keep fighting when it doesn't look like there's an end in sight?
After 71 stores filed for union elections in March 2022 and 59 joined in April, the union added just 6 that August. It took time to reverse the decline. Starbucks itself proved helpful in doing so.
The turnover has just been so massive in the last 2 years, and some of that is just the nature of the service industry, right? But a lot of that is people coming into this company expecting better because the company claims to be better, and then finding that, it's no different than working at a McDonald's, right?
Yeah, a big thing with new partners is the withheld benefits that Starbucks was, keeping from partners. So credit card tips.
Yeah, no kidding. Where would they be with no workers doing the job? Exactly. Labor creates all value. Essentially, that's how it works.
And
Without labor, you have nothing.
a new dress code. Partners were coming into the store, one, not knowing that they were at a union store, and 2, that they were immediately going to be treated differently than the partners at a different store up the road.
Lydia was ultimately reinstated by Starbucks, the first, and to date, still one of the only, union workers who the company admitted to improperly firing.
A few weeks after working with them, I'll tell them, did you know that the company fired me? And it's a lot of shocked reactions, and sharing the stories of why I was fired and why other coworkers were fired, I think shows them that the company doesn't really care about the hard work that we, perform.
The company was continually giving us stuff that we could use. It was the company continuing to mistreat its workers and continuing to break the law. And
Telling them, yeah, Starbucks is illegally withholding these benefits from you, and you don't deserve that, and we're trying to fight them, and we're trying to win those back because we know that you do deserve those. That in of itself emboldens people.
Workers continued to get fired or have their hours cut, but the union quietly formulated plans. The organizing began to publicly ramp up again in early 2023, around the same time that the NLRB started to file charge after charge against Starbucks for unfair labor practices.
It was a combination of continuing to draw attention to
It's capitalism. Of course they don't care.
the behavior of the company, continuing to organize stores in spite of the behavior of the company, and making sure that the world around us, those around us who could help us, were aware of what was going on.
We started having regular meetings a little less than a year after those closures. We organized actions, anything from like t-shirt days all the way up to like large national strikes.
We had to keep workers engaged. We knew this was going to be a long fight, but we also needed to remind people, you know, what we were fighting for.
There was a conscious, like, collective decision in our city and on the campaign as a whole, I think, to take a little step back from just yelling about all of our store closures all the time, because it was very traumatic, but at a certain point, it no longer serves us to have that be our main media talking point.
I tried to come up with unique ways that I could share information, but it wasn't bombarding people too much. So we would create little welcome brochures that were very store specific. They would share a little bit of history on why we first wanted to unionize. And, you know, we would print off stickers and pass out pins and things that seem small, but you know, they go a long way.
Major strikes like Red Cup Day continued to make national headlines, but so did things happening outside the campaign, including a push by institutional shareholders to force a reckoning inside the company.
CNBC has viewed a copy of an investor presentation from the Strategic Organizing Center, a coalition of unions, accusing the company's board of implementing, quote, one of the most glaring and destructive examples of human capital mismanagement in modern U.S. history in response to the union movement.
They pushed for an assessment of the labor practices, and they did that by voting their shares and telling the board of directors, hey, we don't like what we're hearing. We don't like what's going on. Some of those board members, too, they're heads of other very large corporations and companies, and they didn't want the stigma of being connected to a company that was, you know, continually breaking.
Yeah, and like that's super crucial because it also kind of plays into the idea that capitalism will literally sell you its own destruction, and anything, any slight threat to their pocketbooks, it doesn't matter. If it looks bad and it causes them to lose money, that's your ticket.
U.S. labor.
It's kind of funny, right? How that works.
Law and mistreating its workers.
That wasn't anything that Starbucks had ever seen before. Having that type of allyship, I think, showed them that we weren't just coming at them really hard from one angle, and that we were slowly but surely starting to surround them entirely.
The figure at the top also changed. Howard Schultz left the company for a second time in April 2023 after a disastrous congressional testimony about union busting.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the fact that there was a new, guy in charge, that there was a new CEO. It took him about a year to get his feet wet, but I think he came in, he saw that things were, not really where he wanted them to be, and then he took steps to right that.
I think all of those things really scared Starbucks, but in my opinion, I think that the thing that actually really was the final nail in the coffin for them was when they realized that we weren't going to stop organizing new stores. They realized that they weren't actually fighting 400 stores. They were fighting 400 stores plus all of the new stores that would continue organizing.
If you're going in there for revenge, if you're going in there because you want to take down a company, I think it's the wrong reason, right? You need to be going in there because you want to bring hope to your fellow workers. You want to improve your working conditions. You want to make things better. Anger is fleeting. Doesn't mean there isn't a place for that in these fights. There absolutely is. But it's not nearly as sustainable or powerful as the hope for a better future.
That's right, like a Hydra. You think that that playing the long game would be a good strategy, but okay, like keeping your employees happy? Yeah, but unfortunately, the only strategy that they know is short-term gains. Not really too concerned about any long-term anything, to be honest. All right, folks, shifting gears, as it always has been. Yep.
Vivek Ramaswamy, he is no longer running for president, and as a result, he's done what everybody with nothing else to do does.
Release a buck?
He launched a podcast. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Just Truth, maybe? Truth? I don't know. So he brought on Ann Coulter, and Ann Coulter drops the most wild shit during this interview.
Close. Wait a minute. Hey, I resent that. I'm doing a podcast. Well, kind of.
About him. And it's Ann Coulter, so you can probably already guess what she said, something racist. But she says something racist specifically about him. And what's more shocking to me than what she said is his response to what she said. So without further ado...
Yeah, this is going to be pretty funny, I think. Writing is hard. Did you fail at running for president too? I did. That's why I'm... That's why I'm here.
We're going to watch this. And, yeah, just wait until what she says at the end. It's mind-blowing. Not surprising, because it's Ann Coulter, but...
Somebody who I think has some thoughtful perspectives on the future direction of our country, of our conservative movement, and on this question of nationalism and national identity. Somebody who I've been fascinated by for a long time.
Ramaswamy actually tried running for president. Yeah. That's true. I only pretended to. Welcome, Bipedal Meatbag. Also, red flags. Nationalism.
And have interacted with on social media, but for the first time we're having at least a live form conversation in the offline sense of it. It's Ann Coulter. So Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate.
Whew. Is this guy not completely eaten up by the leopards yet? No. He just keeps coming back for more, huh?
And I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Whew. Wow. Yeah. That was a jump scare. That was a jump scare. I didn't okay. Well, welcome, Michael Hasser. If you're just walking in, I'm Jesus. Whew. Yikes. Can we get a replay on that? Holy yikes.
Thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black.
I'm aware I saw this. Yikes.
Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was
says it anyways? How does that says it anyways. Like, oh no, I can't say that. That's derogatory. Said it anyway. This is amazing. Her mind goes straight to race. Can't see anyone just as human. Yep.
Great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
Oh my God. Oh man, this is bad. This is bad. This is really bad. Whew, and you can see Mike's reaction coming up like Jesus Christ. I suppose this shouldn't be surprising. At least she's honest. Her dating Bill Maher makes so much sense now. True.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, same. This is the exact same reaction, okay? This is the perfect encapsulation right here. Whew.
She just said, I would not have voted for you because you're an Indian, even though I agree with you. I gotta play that last part again.
Just straight up, no filter, completely upfront freaking racism, okay?
She drops it so casually, and then she also says racist things about black people. So
right, yeah, no, zero mask, nothing, nada.
Oh, well, you can't call them articulate. Well, how are you saying it? And are you saying, oh, wow, you're really articulate? That's surprising because typically black people aren't articulate. If you're saying it like that, then yeah, that's pretty racist and offensive. But she just drops it casually.
Of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things.
Simon Locker, welcome. Her dating Dinesh D'Souza makes less sense, though.
Things you said during,
True.
in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Okay, she just says it so casually, and he just nods along. Like, he just not...
Because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, he's like, yep, that tracks. What?
You agreed with him the most, but you couldn't vote for him because he's Indian. I feel like there's a name for that. What do you call that? Is that rhymes with schmacism?
Schmacism, yeah. It's just like straight mainlined, no filter racism.
Like I don't know. So his response is fucking insane to me. So he responded to this when somebody brought up how wild this was, and look at his insane response. Okay, Ann Coulter told me flat out to my face that she couldn't vote for me because you're an Indian, even though she agreed with me more than most other candidates. I disagree with her, but respect she had the guts to speak her mind. It was a riveting hour. The Truth Podcast is back.
Jeez, man. Whew, yikes. Yeah, it starts with R and rhymes with racism. Oh my goodness.
Vivek.
Bro.
Really? I disagree with her, but I respect that she had the guts to tell me to my face that she wouldn't support me because she's racist. I mean, this is embarrassing. Genuinely embarrassing. This is Dave Rubin level self-loathing that we're seeing here.
Yeah, I agree.
And I did a video about this, but there were Republicans who straight up said that, you know, they were apprehensive about voting for him, and they've talked to, you know, their peers who are also conservative that were really apprehensive about voting for him, specifically because he's Indian.
What do people say?
I was in the middle of typing about Rubin. Ted Cruz level? No. Well, maybe. I think Dave Rubin is an apt comparison.
Gives them like, oh, I can't vote for him because what are the things that they tell you? What answers can I help you provide? just see.
Well, the only one I've had, and couldn't even remember who said that to me, but they mentioned about dark skin.
Oh, no, no.
Yep. So I kind of set them straight on that. Whether they
Just,
I was covering for it, I don't know.
Hitting the classic racism, right?
Fair, not much we can do about that one.
So in our faith tradition, Jesus Christ is a son of God. I know that is different than saying he's the son of God. But that is my view of Jesus Christ. He's got our family. Do we worship in churches? Yes, we do. Is that compatible with our faith? Yes, it is. One true God in many forms. So that's different, and I understand that.
That is different. The only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ.
So this was a problem. And
it's kind of refreshing when they just lay it out there and cut straight to the point. I suppose so. But like another way of thinking about it, well, that's true. You know, it's like, all right, yep, these people don't feel the need to try to kind of hide any racism behind anything, no more euphemisms, nothing. They kind of just come straight forward with the racism. Well, that's true that you just kind of get it straight to the point. The problem is that they feel like it's okay enough for them to act this way. Does that make sense? Cruz has never made an excuse for his friends telling him to his face that he's lesser than. I'm thinking of the infamous "your wife is ugly" debacle. True. I see that. Yeah.
As all of this happens, Vivek Ramaswamy is out here pretending as if racism is no longer a thing. Isn't that the most ridiculous part, right? This is the guy who's like, listen, as somebody who's not white, I can tell you, racism is not real. If anything, there's racism against white people. Where here you have Ann Coulter saying, even though I agree with you the most, I'm not going to vote for you because you're Indian. And he's like, well, at least, you know, she was honest. I respect that. Embarrassing. Have some dignity.
I was going to say that dude would never get the Republican ticket without whoever is in charge of the Republican cult at the time and or the Michael Jackson treatment. Whew.
Have some fucking dignity. At that point in time, disconnect the interview. Say, Ann, since you don't view me as your equal, I have nothing to say to you. Bye. The interview's canceled. I mean, that's how you handle racists. You don't pat them on the back and say, wow, congratulations for being so brave. And
thank you for being so honest with me. Yeah, like, I get it. You know, again, I get it. The honesty thing, you know, getting that out of the way real quick. But yeah, racists shouldn't be that comfortable. Racists shouldn't be that comfortable to be like, yeah, I think this is acceptable behavior. Nah.
Being racist. Who does that? That's so absurd to me. But that's Vivek Ramaswamy. Very embarrassing. And I hope that his wife is at least like teaching their kids that this is not okay. Like you should have self-respect, right? Have dignity, have the confidence to tell racists to go fuck themselves. Like that just yeah, leopards eating.
Welcome, Sickle Me Pink. Not being mean, just being very honest. Racism edition. You should have pushed back with something like, "Wow, that's a weird reason to not vote for the best candidate." Couldn't bring himself to even do that. He couldn't even bring himself to even do that.
Faces party, as Ariana puts it. Yeah, absolutely absurd.
Womp womp womp. But then he wouldn't be a Republican pawn. True. All right, folks. I think we should do this one. I ain't that bored, trust me.
Here is...
Look at Puppy Killer Barbie. She literally had to admit the puppy murder to get past being a woman in the Republican Party, that things like the rights for mechanical dishwashers is close to women's rights in the Republican Party would defend. Yep, Hambelis, welcome. The spot of the GOP's one black friend is already taken by Tim Scott. We've got one more meme to go through, I think.
Tim Pool discussing the Daily Wire's gag order on Candace Owens. Now, it's interesting because you know who's had a lot of problems with his employees? Steven Crowder. But do you know who has also had a lot of problems with his employees?
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool. I think at one point... Tim was accused of kidnapping a cat of some of his former employees. Do you remember that?
Also, wasn't there like a recent picture of Tim Pool in Mar-a-Lago with oh god, what is this clown's name? Roger Stone, and he had like a suit with while still wearing his beanie. The beanie doesn't come off, folks.
I do remember that.
Yeah, he's had a lot of problems with his former employees. And I wonder if he has them sign NDAs.
There are a lot of media organizations that do that, and ones you wouldn't even think.
All right, here is Tim Pool on. I'm sorry, he's just on his own here with the gag order.
Owens, despite being one of the company's most popular hosts, was out. The company had concluded that her increasingly vocal criticisms of Israel, opposition to U.S. financing of it, and her views of anti-Semitism were incompatible with the Daily Wire's policies. I do not believe that is correct. I think that's Glenn's bias as to Israel. Look, man, I think Glenn and many of these other disaffected liberals have long been biased against Israel. I don't care. I care as much about Israel as I do as Myanmar. And that's why I often make that
Myanmar and go F yourself. Tim Pool put that cat in a kill shelter and someone had to drive down there to save the cat. Jesus Christ. What a disgusting human being.
Point. It's like, I get it.
Kind of makes sense when you put his politics into perspective that he would do that. It tracks 100%. I didn't know that, Wolf Glenn. I didn't know that, but it tracks.
The U.S. funds it. We also fund Sudan, and we've been funding Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're funding Ukraine. We fund Ukraine more than Israel. My attitude is very simple. Like, I want to fix our roads and secure our border. I care about my neighbors, not some faraway land. But then you get people who are hyper-focused on the core moral issue of Israel, and they view everything through that lens. All of those issues.
I just want to explain
what is he saying?
what Tim is doing here. Because it is, it's fascinating. He wants to cover this because he knows he'll get some clicks. He does not want to take a position on Israel-Palestine because his audience
are a bunch of Nazis. Ask James from the internet. He knows both the person that drove down. Jesus Christ. That is absolutely disgusting. But it completely tracks. It completely tracks. My favorite comment lately was Jon Stewart saying, I don't know what's more ironic. The candidate we all said had brainworms, had a brainworm, or his brain was so toxic that it died. I like how this MR fanboy even copied their set. They don't know you, little bro. Stop glazing. Bro, do you even know who I am? There's an audience half Nazis who love Israel and half Nazis who hate Israel. So, just a bunch of Nazis. Who the F is you? I am me. Who is you? I am me. Who are you?
thoughts is too, he cannot determine exactly where his audience is on it.
Who is you? Who am I? Wait. I am me. Who are you? Corwin Chelway. Yeah, I think welcome, Corwin. I think therefore I am. Yeah, I think I'm just me.
And one of the things that Tim has always done, and you can see this in that Timba Toast.
I am Groot. Dang, I should have responded with that. I didn't have the wittiness to do that.
Video is he sits on the fence and tries to make
professional fence sitter. I am the walrus.
It seemed like he's some type of moderate here.
I am the Eggman.
Somehow he is sandwiching in his sort of position that he shouldn't take a position on this. It's about roads and potholes, although he also probably doesn't want the government to be doing that unless it's a way to distract from taking a position on what war machine we're funding. But he somehow sandwiches that into the question as to whether there is about whether Candace Owens should debate Ben Shapiro. Just to make, I want to make it clear here.
What
when
the
he
segment
says,
is? Yeah.
Well, yeah. When he says because Greenwald just tweeted it out, and apparently, he had got it. I think he interviewed Candace Owens. I'm not sure where he got that information from.
True. 90% plus of the support that is sent to Palestine from U.S. is stolen by Israel, so anyone that complains should have to try to survive a year in Gaza and see how easy it is. Yep. We give billions to Israel while they have universal health care and free college. Yep.
From exactly, or just had spoke to her on the phone, or had actually seen the document. But Tim says, Glenn apparently had said that seems you're going to have a gag order, but you also invite her to debate about this. I imagine the gag order is about talking about the business that she had, which, again, I don't think there should be NDAs in these situations. And I think that she should be allowed to talk about her working experience as much as she wants. But to equate those two things seems to me to be disingenuous. And then Tim's interpretation of it is also disingenuous. So this is sort of like a parfait, if you will, of
It is.
disingenuousness.
And I want to remind people that he said in June, when we had a conversation, that he didn't have a position on Israel-Palestine because he didn't know too much about it. But he's been covering politics for a while, and Israel's been the top recipient of our military aid, I don't know, for my entire life or close to it.
For Israel's entire life.
For one of our the top recipients before, obviously, Russia invaded. So it's interesting that he's suddenly concerned about potholes and bridges when it comes to funding Ukraine, but didn't even know about the top recipient of our military aid prior to our conversation in June of last year, and didn't raise alarm bells about the money going there instead of to the potholes.
It's one thing to bring up Ukraine because of emergency funds for a country getting invaded. We've given $300 billion to Israel over 75 years, and that is to equate that to mention Sudan or like Iraq and like Afghanistan, other countries that we've invaded. Like, it's just, what is he talking about?
I should also add that I would be willing to bet he did not support the Inflation Reduction Act, or the infrastructure bill, which does all those things he claims he wants. But continue.
I think it's called him woke, yeah.
But then you get people who are hyper-focused on the core moral issue of Israel.
Material.
And they view everything through that lens. All of those issues would likely have been the subject of the public debate that Owen sought, and that the Daily...
What is the core, like, what is he talking about when he means that? Like, people are angry that taxpayer dollars are going to fund an ethnic cleansing? Is that the moral that we're talking about here?
The Wire claimed to want. Instead, the Daily Wire has succeeded in obtaining a gag order that, on its face, prevents Owens in advance from questioning or criticizing both the Daily Wire or Shapiro in some way. It may be that Glenn Greenwald is completely correct and has the evidence, and I'm not here to doubt that Well, I'm not here to tell you what to believe and what not to believe. That's a better way to put it. Personally, I think there's more to this picture than meets the eye. And having been involved in arbitration as well, you know, I think you can really just see it when he brings up the Jeremy Boring and Owen statement. He says, when asked for a comment to be included in the story, Owens replied, "I wish I could comment on this, but I can't. I can neither confirm nor deny." Where's the criticism of her for refusing to engage? It says,
That's
Boring.
enough, yeah.
Wait, what? The criticism
He thinks Glenn's
of...
just biased toward Candace Owens. Why doesn't he criticize Candace for not getting into?
Yeah, he's
Let me tell you what anybody over the age of 15 understands in this context. When you are asked, do you have an NDA? Is there a gag order? And you answer, I cannot confirm nor deny. That is a way of saying, I'm not allowed to speak on this, but I can't say that. Because if you didn't, you would say, no, I don't. And if you did, you would say, yes, I do, except for your NDA says you can't even disclose the existence of the NDA.
Yeah. There's actually a name for this in the U.S. law. It's called...
Is that even, like, allowed?
The GLOMAR response, which the Deep State basically gave to keep certain projects. I think this was the GLOMAR Explorer out of public eyes. Like, we'll neither confirm nor deny, and that's basically been the boilerplate response to anything that they don't want to
and Tim couldn't
validate or whatever.
Yeah, Tim couldn't connect those dots that answer might mean something about the existence of an NDA.
He could. He just doesn't want to tell people what to believe.
It's complicated. Don't criticize Delaware too much.
The critical thinking on that front might give him some flashbacks to some employee disputes that he's been involved with, as he alluded to there, arbitration and such. I'd be curious about those documents and if anybody has a hold of them.
Look, I know this is going to come off as childish, and but I'm going to say it anyways because I think it's possible that, like, when you subject your brain to that amount of relentless heat, I think it can have detrimental impacts on your ability to navigate through some of the basic, issues. I think it can hurt you cognitively.
I've heard about.
I'm not a doctor.
Brain. I've heard about hot brain, and it boils the brain. You know.
I'm not a doctor.
Hey, folks. I really don't get the appeal of Tim Pool. He's not super charismatic or anything. I don't understand. I don't get it either because, like, everything he says is just so stupid. Memo for the record, welcome. There's something called National Security Letter, Carlos, and yes, they can enforce silence on the subject. Gotcha. So I guess they can tell you that you have to be quiet about the ability to say, you have to be quiet even about the NDA. Need to wash the beanie occasionally. Yeah, you do, actually. I would bet money that Tim Pool probably doesn't. But yes, you should. You need to wash the beanie, okay? This beanie takes a wash ever so often, okay? Why would you not wash it? Does Tim Pool, like, also not wash his clothes? I mean, rhetorical question. I'm off to the Western Mecca known as Applebee's. Good luck. One day I will return. All right, folks, let's shift gears here. Let's start doing some headlines. No credible plan. U.S. Blinken issues harshest criticism yet of Israel's ethnic cleansing. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken issued harsh words for Israel. Oh, no, man, words. Wow. Criticizing its operation in the Gaza Strip, saying it lacked a plan to protect civilian life ahead of an expected assault on the city of Rafah, where more than 1.2 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering. Quote, we believe two things, Blinken said in the interview with CBS, the program Face the Nation. One, that you have to have a clear and credible plan to protect civilians, which we haven't seen, because it's not in existence, and it doesn't appear that it was ever in existence, as Piers Morgan, when he did that interview, so clearly showed. The Israeli official had absolutely no clue as to how many civilians have the IDF killed. So that begs the question, how do we know that they're actually taking any kind of precautions to protect civilians? And the answer to that is they're not. Just about every commentary on the right wing, I think that same non are really charismatic, so bad that they're literally fawn over people like Andrew Tate. That's true. That is true. Hey, No Justice MTG, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hey, Zeo Duke, how's it going? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it, Mr. Satnav. Howdy, everybody. Rohak, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Folks, if you don't know who I am, I'm A Difficult Truth. I do the news. I do the politics Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you do enjoy your stay and you enjoy the content, feel free to follow and hang out. I appreciate it. Thank you. Please consider checking out twitch.tv/NoJusticeMTG. Thank you so much for bringing your wonderful community. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Cat Dev, welcome. Hey, James from the internet emote. Nice. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Once you have a clear and credible plan, one, you have to have a clear and credible plan to protect civilians, which we haven't seen because it doesn't exist. And second, we need to see a plan for what happens after the conflict is over, and we still haven't seen that. Well, that's because the plan is to settle the area. Comments came against a backdrop of increasingly tense relations between Israel and its number one ally, as the Biden administration last week confirmed it was pausing a shipment of 3,500 heavy payload bombs to the Jewish state. It was the first ever such move by President Biden, who has long been a staunch supporter of Israel. He confirmed that U.S. support still remains ironclad, even though, the administration officials say the move stemmed from a concern over the use of weapons, 1,000 to 2,000 pound bombs on a densely populated area like Rafah, which is now completely surrounded by Israeli forces, as its war-ravaged population grapples with military strikes, hunger, disease, and severe lack of sufficient humanitarian aid. Hey, real quick, why is that? Because that's important. That's incredibly important to kind of point out, right? Why is there a severe lack of sufficient humanitarian aid? Why is that? Do you support Javier Milei? Nah, fuck that guy. Yeah, there's no libertarian that is worth taking seriously. Okay, there's no libertarian candidate that should be taken seriously at all. At all. Just a clown. Nothing more. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Rafah ground assault is the only way to defeat Palestinian militant group Hamas, which governs the Strip and launched a brutal terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th. It killed 1,200 people and took roughly 250 hostages. Yeah, wasn't there like another report that like literally Hamas is still quite able to operate. So that's clearly not true. Around 130 hostages remain in Gaza, with roughly a quarter believed to be dead. Hey, real quick, another question. Hey, how many of those out of the quarter that are believed to be dead, how many of those are direct or indirect results of the Israeli ethnic cleansing? How many of those have died because of either inability to obtain medical care because they've essentially made no hospital is essentially completely working. There are several hospitals that have been attacked. So how many of them have indirectly died because they are not able to access the medical care or food, which is currently being stopped by Israeli protesters who are literally stopping trucks of aid trucks, I should say. And how many of them have been just straight up direct casualties, whether it be because they shot them or bombed them. Hamas is an idea. As long as there's an occupation, there will be a new version of Hamas. 99% Israel and 0.001% Hamas. Hamas accidentally caused a paper cut on one. Israelis have killed more of their own than they have rescued. Later figures a derisory too. I believe that. I believe that. I believe the IDF has killed more hostages than they have rescued. So that's obviously not a priority for Netanyahu. Along with their releases of a key part of the potential ceasefire deal over which Israeli and Hamas officials, along with America, Egyptian, and Qatari mediators, have been negotiating for months. The Israel-Hamas war has killed more than 34,000 people, according to the Palestinian health authorities. That was months ago. Hey, take a wild guess as to why that number hasn't been updated. Also, an important there's so much that's missing here. It's absurd, but anyways. The Biden administration has made it clear its opposition to a Rafah offensive, and on Sunday, Blinken elaborated on its position. What we're seeing right now, we're seeing parts of Gaza that Israel has cleared of Hamas, where Hamas is coming back, including in the north, including in Khan Yunis. As we look at Rafah, Israel may go in and have some initial success, but we potentially at an incredibly high cost to civilians, one that is not durable, one that is not sustainable, and they will be left holding the bag on an enduring insurgency because a lot of armed Hamas will be left no matter what they do in Rafah. So, man, the admission here is basically all of this is for nothing because it's not going to accomplish the supposed goals that they have. Neither of them. And it's only going to cause a mass civilian casualty event. Maybe we should go and read a history of the Vietnam War, how the Viet Cong resisted and eventually defeated the U.S. military power, which is far more powerful than the IOF. Memorial, I think, as said, Israel killed more hostages than Hamas and also killed more than they have saved. Wait, the goal is to remove all the people so they can make resorts. That's true. That's true. He warned that an insurgency by the militant group will only worsen without a credible day-after plan for Gaza, which Israel's government has not presented, and that getting out of Gaza is what we believe the Israeli forces need to do. Israel's on the trajectory potentially to inherit an insurgency with many armed Hamas left, or if it leaves, a vacuum filled by chaos, filled by anarchy, and probably refilled by Hamas again. We've been talking to them about a much better way of getting an enduring result, enduring security. The administration's criticism has not gone down well among Israel's right-wing leadership. Israeli diplomats have described anger and frustration, while some Israeli lawmakers attacked Biden for weapon shipment pause, accusing him of being a Hamas supporter. Okay. The U.S. is Israel's single biggest supporter and source of military funding, and it has provided it with hundreds of billions of dollars in military aid since its founding. Despite the announcement, despite the announced pause of shipment on the 30,500 heavy payload bombs, the administration noted that other weapons, including precise munitions and those included in the $26.4 billion military assistance package for Israel, recently approved by Congress, would continue to be supplied as planned. Nice, cool, awesome. Blinken also addressed a recent U.S. national security memorandum which concluded that it was reasonable to assess that Israel had violated international law, but that the evidence was still incomplete and the investigation would continue, which is nonsense, right? Like, come on, man. We know that this has been happening, right? It's not a freaking secret, okay? And the reason why, again, so much freaking stuff, context is missing. The reason why they're tiptoeing and playing and gaslighting is because it's illegal. It's illegal by international law, and it's illegal by domestic law to supply a country that's committing violations of international law. That's actually against just the regular U.S. law, and on top of it being against international law as well. So they can't outright say, like, yeah, we definitely know, and here's the evidence. The closest we've gotten to this admission is now which is recent, that is now reasonable to assess that they have violated international law, but evidence is incomplete. Like, come on, man. Modern settler colonialism. You murdered X, and then we have video of it, confession and weapon, but we can't go until we have more evidence. Right, it's inconclusive. If they admit what Israel's doing, then many folks could go to jail and Biden can be impeached. Right, it's not a secret, but it's important to remain consistent in their BS so people eventually believe it to be true. Right. The report, which Blinken signed, described Israeli civilian harm mitigation efforts as inconsistent, ineffective, and inadequate. Those are words that, I guess. We've been working for many weeks on developing critical plans for security, governance, and for rebuilding. We haven't seen that come from Israel. Then why are we still providing them aid? Like, this is so absurd. This entire situation from top to bottom is absurd. Absurd. We've been working with Arab countries and others on that plan. We need to see that too. We've had the same objectives as Israel, but we want to make sure Hamas cannot govern Gaza. Again, we have a different way, and we think a more effective and durable way of getting that done, and we'll remain in conversation with Israel about exactly that. Yeah, they're not interested, dude. They literally said, if we have to go in alone, then so be it. They don't care. They don't care. But that's not going to stop. That's right. Rebuilding for settlers. That's not going to stop our government from saying some absurd things like this. A sitting senator, by the way, a sitting senator. This is a video that was sent by Firefly on the Discord. Definitely consider joining the Discord if you haven't done so. Thank you, Heat, for posting it earlier. I'll do another repost. Definitely consider joining Discord if you haven't. But this one was brought to us by Firefly, who posted this. Let's just hear the what can only be described as psychopathy. Lindsey Graham is a top tier scumbag. Yep. Hey, welcome, Jane Doe. Take it away, Lindsey Graham.
Historians would say, why is it okay for Reagan to do it and not President Biden? But let me ask you about
Wait.
Historians would say, why is it okay for Reagan to do it and not President Biden? But let me
Yeah, so I think that the context is that Reagan actually got Israel to stand down with a single freaking phone call. And I believe Ronald Reagan even said, I didn't even realize I had that much power. Just one phone call. I think that's what she's referencing for context. But anyways.
ask you about
why is it okay?
deal.
Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat?
Wait, it wasn't okay. That's a very good point, Lindsey Graham. It wasn't. Playing hindsight. I saw the long clip and she is talking about Reagan stopping the arms shipments. Got it. Got it. Okay, so yeah, that's correct then. Yes. So I do have that context correct, which I didn't know because I wasn't alive. Me neither. I had to be instructed of this. I had to learn. Hoisted by his own petard. Accidentally woke. Lindsey been repeating that for days now.
War. Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay.
Well,
so Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
Yeah, sure. Up to and including dropping 2 freaking sons on your neighbors? Dude, you know what would happen if Israel actually dropped, like, nukes? You know what would happen if Israel dropped, like, freaking nukes right next door? They would get invaded by a coalition immediately. Yeah, and on top of that, like, all that fallout and radiation would probably come back on them too. Like, that is way too close. Now, I guess I would have to see how the winds work, but yeah, I don't. That is absurd. What's the name of this caricature actor? Oh, this is not. This is not a caricature. This is unfortunately a sitting senator, a elected public official, a United States senator. Yeah, so unfortunately, no, this is not an actor. This is not a caricature. As much as we want that to be true, he's for real. Yeah, that's true. Can't build on nuclear waste. Can't have those resorts. Those waterfront resorts. If it's all just a freaking wasteland, huh?
Again, military officials say
Whatever
the
you have to
technology
do.
has changed. But let me ask you about how all
these
of this
military
could
officials
impact-
that you're talking about.
Let me ask you something.
What an a-hole. I've thought about this for a while. If they dropped a small-scale regional nuke onto Gaza, the dust alone would cover all of Israel in a month. Maybe just to find us, but enough. U.S. might do it just to keep getting oil.
Full of crap.
Let me ask you something that historians would say. Why is
Yeah. A sitting senator, everybody. Do whatever you have to do, up to and including, I suppose. So basically, he's saying, like, yeah, the U.S. had to drop 2 sons. So be it. If that's what Israel has to do, it doesn't matter what Israel has to do. It doesn't matter how many civilians they kill. If all 1.2 million Gazans have to go, then so be it. Absolute freaking ghoul. Absolute ghoul. And so Ohio's prosecuting people for going to protest in a mask. I think I heard something about that. Oh, I see. Oh, this is phenomenal. Don't worry, I got you. I got you, Jane Doe. Full of crap coming from an actual Finkel figure. Can we swap 700,000 illegal West Bank settlers with Gaza so they can have homes and the settlers can rebuild Gaza? I mean, like, honestly, like, what I would say is that just leave Palestinians. Palestinians, just like every person, deserves human rights, and they deserve to have the right to self-determination. It's that simple. And what Israel is doing is monstrous. America hasn't dealt with its own racism. So check this out. What Jane Doe is referencing. The Ohio AG warns student protesters in mass could face felony charges under anti-KKK law. Same thing, true. They need the right to self-determination because even without the war, Israel's policies is apartheid. Right, and just like every free person on this planet deserves that. They deserve the right to have self-determination. Ohio's top lawyer has advised the state's public universities that a law written to deter the KKK couldn't be used to impose felony charges on students who wear face coverings to protesting the war in Gaza. Yeah. In a letter sent Monday after weeks of pro-Palestinian campus protests around the country, Republican Attorney General Dave Yost advised the presidents of Ohio's 14 public four-year universities, which his office represents, to forewarn students about that 1953 law. Quote, in our society, there are few more significant career records than a felony charge. I write to you today to inform that your student bodies of an Ohio law, in the context of some behavior during the recent pro-Palestinian protests that could have effect. Law is contained in a single sentence, quotes, no person shall unite with two or more others to commit a misdemeanor while wearing white caps, masks, or other disguises. Violating this anti-disguise law is punishable by a fourth-degree felony charge, up to $5,000 in fines, and 5 years of community control. 5 years on community control. Protesters around the U.S. and the world have increasingly taken steps to remain anonymous by wearing a combination of head and face coverings in a world where facial recognition software can easily lead to negative repercussions. Not all do so to hide their identities. However, some wear religious hijabs or medical masks to prevent exposure to COVID or as a political statement for the virus's ongoing impact. So, yeah. Cool. Of course they want to stay in Gaza, and I respect that, but illegal settlers should be removed, and then they will have empty homes and towns. Right, yeah, anyone who's there illegally on the West Bank and whatnot, and should be removed, yeah. Wasn't there a Nazi march in Ohio a few months ago wearing masks and the police or state said and did nothing? Yep, seems about right. Was it the Patriot Front guys? The guys with the blue and khaki? If you find it, just send it to me directly because I don't have links turned on, Jane Doe. So if you do find it, just send it to me by whisper. The only real violence I saw at the protest was when a counter-protest group got there and were fully grown men going crazy. That tracks. We've seen video of that. And the police, yep. All right. The police circled the campus for 3 hours while the counter groups did their thing. It was barbaric. Yep, I've seen videos of that too, where the counter protesters were essentially allowed to assault the pro-Palestine protesters, and they just didn't do anything. Oh, it's these clowns. Gotcha. It's these clowns. I remember this. Yeah, hey, how many of these clowns, how many of these clowns, can we do a mental health stream tomorrow? I don't know how I'm gonna pull that one off. Maybe play video games or something? I don't know. How many of these clowns got prosecuted under that law? Under that, yeah, just all kittens? If I lived in America, there'd be a hobby of mine to track these people down. How many of these clowns got wrapped up on the anti-KKK? Like, the anti-KKK law would have literally applied to these people. In fact, it was actually designed exactly for these people. So how many of these people got felony charges? Yeah. Police probably defended and helped them get home. Yeah, they did. No arrests were made. The Nazis left the scene after 30 minutes and no arrests were made. And by helping them, they can even add the police charge to the charges using RICO. Yeah, I mean, I would almost be willing to bet money that there is a certain percentage that might actually even be police themselves. But of course, you know, you start protesting at universities. You start protesting genocide, and they chose to enact that law against those people, the people protesting genocide. Nice meme. Yeah, some of those who work forces. Record-breaking increase in CO2 levels in the world's atmosphere. Hey, remember the climate crisis? Yeah, you know, that hasn't gone away. The largest ever recorded leap in the amount of carbon. So, for those of you that are coming in from the raids or haven't seen this stream before, I did, or I do, a lot of focus on the climate crisis. And we just haven't done as much recently because of all of this happening. But yeah, don't forget the House declared that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, and from the river to the sea is also anti-Semitic. But also, it's not anti-Semitic when Netanyahu says it. So that, yeah. The largest ever recorded leap in amount. It makes total sense. Carbon dioxide laden in the world's atmosphere has just occurred, according to researchers who monitor the relentless accumulation of the primary gas that is heating the planet. The global average concentration of carbon monoxide in dioxide in March this year was 4.7 parts per million, higher than it was in March last year, which is a record-breaking increase of CO2 levels in a 12-month period. Yeah, just record after record after record after record, huh? Goes back to one of the rage songs we talked about the last time I was here. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Yep. The increase has been spurred, scientists say, by the periodic El Nino climate event, which has now waned, as well as the ongoing and increasing amounts of greenhouse gases expelled into the atmosphere due to burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. Cool. Quote, it's really significant to see the pace of increase over the first 4 months of this year, which is also a record, said Ralph Keeling, the director of the CO2 program at UC San Diego Scripps Institution of Oceanography. We aren't just breaking records in CO2 concentrations, but also records in how fast it's rising. Right. Which is, it's one thing. I think it's that double whammy, because the amount of CO2 that's being pumped into the atmosphere is way, way, way faster and accumulating and creating these domino effects way faster than the planet can adapt. The tipping point of fossilized methane being released will spike warming faster than we can cope. 100%. Like you can forget about that 1.5 goal because that's not happening. The global CO2 readings have been taken from a station perched upon the Mauna Loa volcano in Hawaii since the measurement began in 1958 under Keeling's father, Charles. The concentration of CO2 have increased each year as the heat-trapping gases continue to progressively accumulate due to rampant emissions from power plants, cars, trucks, and other sources, with last year hitting a new global record in annual emissions. In June, the NOAA announced that global concentration of CO2 had hit 421 ppm, a 50% increase on pre-industrial times and the highest in millions of years. Cool. The latest reading for the Mauna Loa shows the world at around 426 ppm of CO2. Before the point where humans started expelling huge volumes of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere through the burning of fossil fuels, CO2 levels were around 280 ppm for almost 6,000 years of human civilization. The rapid rise in heat-trapping gas threatens the world with disastrous climate breakdown in the form of severe heat waves, floods, droughts, and wildfires. Recent research has suggested that CO2 levels were last as high around 14 million years ago, causing a climate that would appear alien to people alive today. The previous record annual rise in CO2 took place in 2016 amid another El Nino event, which temporarily caused a spike in global temperatures. A more standard annual increase around 2 to 3 ppm will likely return following the end of this latest El Nino, but this is a little cause for comfort. The rate of rise will almost certainly come down, but it is still rising, and in order to stabilize the climate, you need CO2 level to be falling. Clearly, that isn't happening. Human activities cause CO2 to rocket upwards, and it makes me sad more than anything. It's sad what we're doing. Yeah. Cool. Due to ice loss, some parts of the Arctic are already warming at 6 degrees above normal. Yep. And we are not doing anything about it at all. Republicans, we're going to force you to have a child so to have the chance to live. Also, we'll not do anything to stop pollution or reduce it so that the kids will not make it to 30 and die in the slowest, most cruel, and inhumane way possible. Right, but as long as they're doing their job, fulfilling their role as cogs in the factory, so to speak, then it doesn't matter. We're not doing anything. We're planning shipping routes where there should be ice. That's true. We're not doing nothing. We're planning shipping routes where there should be ice. A sign of normal and good things. I've heard about the possible plan to cause a mini ice age. No, but I don't know. Sorry if my complete understanding of this is not 100%. But the way I understand it is like the more that the more we keep going down this path, the more unpredictable and extreme the weather conditions are going to be. We're going to see stronger and wetter hurricanes, weather patterns that were once considered normal are just going to be completely out of whack, so on and so forth. The way the ecosystems were alive are not going to be able to be sustained. They will fall apart, and once that happens, that also is going to cause a lot of problems because it turns out we depend on these ecosystems to feed ourselves in different ways, and the other problem is because of these extremes, it's also going to be difficult or more difficult to grow food. Also, we're not going to help pay for the delivery of said child. True. We know it's going to be bad. We know it's going to be bad. We know that this is not good. It's just a matter of it's just a matter of like how bad on that scale is it going to end up being. And that is purely dependent on what we do or don't do, I guess. The Maunder minimum, also known as a prolonged sunspot minimum, was a period around 1645 to 1715. Well, I think this is this was a phenomenon with the sun, right? An argument that cycle is due next decade. Who knows? This is not a cycle. What's happening now is not a cycle. It is not normal. Just to be clear, what's happening now with the planet is not normal at all. This is pretty well established. That this is definitely not normal. Whether or not there's some kind of cycle with the sun that is on top of that, that's another story, and how that plays in, scientists will have to figure it out. But yeah, the sun's going to do what the sun's going to do, but what's happening now is not normal. What we're doing, what's happening to the climate is our doing. That's pretty well established. That's not, this is not a cycle that just happens. Give me 1 second, folks. The Maunder minimum and the Dalton minimum have been recorded in the last 500 years. Just notion, not hard evidence. Have you heard about the permaculture boss? No, but no. Hard evidence is pretty clear on what's causing this. Sorry. All right, folks. We got a few more articles to go through. Trump leads Biden in 5 swing states. New poll shows. Cool. Yeah. Hey, what is Biden going to do about this? Former President Trump leads in 5 of 6 key swing states in New York Times. He had a college poll out on Monday morning. Trump's strength is largely thanks to gains among young Black and Hispanic voters, writes Nate Cohn, the Times chief political analyst. In a head-to-head race with Trump, President Biden squeaks out a lead among likely voters in Michigan. Among registered voters, a looser screen. Biden leads in Wisconsin. Trump leads on likely voters in Wisconsin. Trump leads in both groups in Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. Per the inaugural Times Philadelphia Inquirer Siena polls, the poll surveyed 4,097 registered voters from April 28th to May 9th. Democratic candidates lead in all 4 states polled: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. This is in the Senate. When all states are joined together, the margin of sampling error is plus or minus 1.8 percentage points for all registered voters, or plus or minus 1.9 percentage for all likely electorate. The only consistency in recent polling is inconsistency. These results need to be weighed against the 30-plus polls that show Biden up and gaining. Biden campaign pollster Geoff Garin said, "The reality is that many voters are not paying close attention to the election and have not started making up their minds. A dynamic also reflected in today's poll." I disagree with that. It's a mistake. I don't think that the polls have been inconsistent. I think that the polls have been consistent in the fact that they've shown that this is a incredibly close race, and that is to the detriment of the Republican. That is to the detriment of the Democratic candidate. I think they've been pretty dang consistent in showing that this is a very close race. And while you've had some outliers here and there, the reality is this is going to be a close race. And the Biden campaign knows what the issue is. Whether or not they're going to respond to the electorate is another thing, and they've shown quite the unwillingness. Mod Effects, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Some slightly good news. The Wisconsin Supreme Court's liberal justices show signs of wanting to overturn the ballot drop box ban. Liberal justices who control the Wisconsin Supreme Court showed signs Monday of being willing to overturn a ruling that all but eliminated the use of absentee ballot drop boxes in the swing state. At issue is whether the court should overturn its July of 2022 rulings that said nothing in the state law allowed for absentee drop boxes to be placed anywhere other than the election clerk office. Conservative justices controlled the court then, but the court flipped to a 4-3 liberal control last year, setting the stage for the possible overturning. Quote, "What if we just got it wrong," said liberal Justice Joe Karofsky of the earlier absentee ballot ruling during arguments. What if we made a mistake? What if, are we now supposed to just perpetuate that mistake into the future? The court heard arguments 3 months before August 13th primary and 6 months ahead of the November presidential election. A reversal could have implications on what is expected to be another razor-thin presidential race in Wisconsin. Attorneys representing Republican backers of the earlier ruling argued on Monday that there have been no changes in the facts or the law to warrant overturning the ruling that's been less than 2 years old. If the court overturns the ruling, it would be revisiting again the next time majority control of the court flips, said Misha Silin, a attorney for the Republican-controlled legislature. But Karofsky asked what the court was to do if it believed the earlier decision was egregiously wrong from the start, that its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has damaging consequences. Quote, "I see this as a check here, so now what are we to do?" To bolster her argument, Karofsky read from the conservative-controlled U.S. Supreme Court decision ruling in 2022 explained why it was justified in overturning the 1973 ruling of Roe v. Wade. Teslin said there's no evidence of negative consequences since the 2022 ruling. Democrats argue that the Wisconsin Supreme Court misinterprets the law in its 2022 ruling and wrongly concluded that absentee ballots can only be returned to a clerk in their office and not to a drop box that they control that is located elsewhere. The current law is unworkable because it's not explicitly clear where ballots can be returned, said David Fox, an attorney for the groups that brought the challenge. But conservative justices questioned the need to revisit the earlier ruling that determined the law does not allow for drop boxes. Quote, "You're asking this court to be super legislature and give free rein to municipal clerks to conduct elections however they see fit." The case was brought by Priorities USA, a liberal voter mobilization group, and Wisconsin Alliance for Retired Voters, Democratic Governor Tony Evers, and the Wisconsin Election Commission, which administers elections and supports allowing the drop boxes. Democracy is fragile. Yeah, saved it this time. The problem is the form liberal democracy takes when that fragility collapses. Yeah, fascism. Election officials from 4 counties, including 2 of the largest, most heavily Democratic in the state, filed a brief in support of overturning the ruling. They argue absentee ballot drop boxes have been used for decades without incident as a secure way for voters to return their ballots. More than 1,600 absentee ballots arrived at the clerk's office after Election Day in 2022, when drop boxes were not in use and therefore not counted. Democratic attorneys noted in their arguments, but in 2020, when drop boxes were in use and nearly 3 times as many people voted absentee, only 689 ballots arrived after the election. Right. So I mean, like there's the game right there, right? They want to make they want to make it so that your vote doesn't count in Wisconsin, or at least make it as difficult for your voice to be heard. So to my mind, it's pretty clear a lot of the rise of fascism we're talking about is driven by economic failure. We needed a stronger Green New Deal to have passed. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Dropboxes were used in 39 other states during the 2022 election, according to the Stanford MIT Healthy Elections Project. The popularity of absentee voting exploded during the pandemic in 2020, with more than 40% of all voters in Wisconsin casting mail ballots, a record high. More than 500 drop boxes were set up in more than 430 communities for the election that year, including more than a dozen in each in Madison and Milwaukee, the state's two heavily Democratic areas. President Biden defeated Donald Trump in Wisconsin by just under 21,000 votes in 2020, 4 years after Trump narrowly took that state by a similar margin. Since his defeat, Trump has claimed without evidence that drop boxes led to voter fraud. Democrats, election officials, and some Republicans argued that the drop boxes are secure. Well, we'll see. I think that it's absurd. It's very obvious what they're doing. Fascism, by one measure, is the intersection of state and capital, where we're seeing that protests as the state protects the college's investment ability. As that economic failure progresses, capital will seek more security from the government, and the squeeze happens. Which we can already see in how much of the government is private entities operating as businesses. Yep. Got one more, folks. So to my mind, specifically, the Democrats represent a moderate wing of the same problem because they promote this. It's a serious issue. Well, the thing is, like, liberalism or liberals don't have a they don't have a good defense against fascism. Governor Kristi Noem, banished by 2 more South Dakota tribes, is now banned from nearly 20% of her own state. Good. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is now banned from entering nearly 20% of her own state after 2 more tribes banished her this week over comments she made earlier about tribal leaders benefiting from drug cartels. The latest development in the ongoing tribal dispute comes on the heels of backlash Noem faced about killing her dog that misbehaved in her latest book. It's not clear how these controversies will affect her chance to become Donald Trump's running mate because it's hard to predict what the former president will do. Phrasing it as 20% of a state is bad because the reservations operate outside of the state. But I guess they should have said, like, the borders of the state known as South Dakota. But because that's separate. You're right, that is separate. But yeah. The Yankton Sioux tribe voted on Friday to ban Nome from their land in southeastern Dakota just a few days after Sitan Wahpeton Ovate tribe took the same action. Ogala, Rosebud, Kayan, and Standing Rock Sioux tribes have already taken actions to keep her off their reservations. 3 other tribes haven't banned her yet. I know what you mean, it's hard to describe. Yeah. Nome reinforced the division between the tribe and the rest of the state in March when she said publicly that tribal leaders are catering to drug cartels on their reservation while neglecting the needs of children and the poor. Quote, we got some tribal leaders that I believe are personally benefiting from the cartels being there. That's why they attack me every day, she said on a forum. But I'm going to fight for the people who actually live in those situations, who call me and text me every day. Please, dear Governor, come and help us in Pine Ridge. Yeah, whatever. Jesus Christ. Nome's spokesman did not respond to Saturday to email questions about the bans, but previously she said she believes many people who live on the reservation still support her, even though she is clearly not getting along with tribal leaders. Right, yeah, surely not a effing racist smear. Yeah. Nome addressed the issue in a post on social media on Thursday, along with a link to YouTube channel about law enforcement's video on drugs and the reservation. Exactly. Tribal leaders, Michael Hasser, exactly. The tribal leaders should take action to ban the cartels from their lands and accept my offer to help them restore law and order to their communities while protecting their sovereignty. We can only do this through the partnership because the Biden administration is failing to do their jobs. The tribes have clashed with Nome in the past, including over the 2016 Dakota Access Pipeline protests at Standing Rock and during the COVID pandemic, where they set up coronavirus checkpoints at reservation borders to keep out unnecessary visitors. He was temporarily banned from Oglala Sioux Reservation after the protest dispute. And there's a long history of rocky relations between Native Americans in the state and the government dating back to 1890, when soldiers shot and killed hundreds of Lakota men, women, and children at Wounded Knee Massacre as part of the campaign to stop a religious practice known as the Ghost Dance. Political observer Cal Jolson, who's based at the Southern Methodist University in Dallas, said the tribal dispute feels a little different because Nome seems to be stoking it actively, which suggests she sees a political benefit. I'm sure that Governor Nome, the political benefit of Republicans is the racism. Yeah. Nome appears American in South Dakota because if we're not talking about that, we're talking about her shooting the dog. Nome appears getting tired of answering questions about her decision to murder Cricket after the dog attacked a family's chickens during a stop on the way home from a hunting trip and then tried to bite the governor. On Face the Nation, she was asked about a passage in her book about President Biden's dog, Commander, which has been known for biting people at the White House. In the book, Nome writes that if she got to the White House, she would say, Commander, say hello to Cricket, which is an absolute freaking absurd and asinine thing to say. Nome said the president should be held accountable for the dog, and when Brennan asked, are you saying he should be shot? She said, that's what the president should be held accountable to. Nome also drew criticism for including an anecdote. She has since asked her publisher to pull from the book that describes staring down North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in a private meeting that experts say was implausible. There is no public record of her visiting North Korea. Trust what she is saying as much as Central Park Karens call. So I've met with many world leaders and I've traveled around the world. She said on CBS Mornings, I should not have put that anecdote on the book. After those controversies, she canceled several interviews that were planned as part of the book tour. And with all the questions about Noe going back the truth on what's wrong with politics and how we move America forward, no one is even trying to ask any more about Noam's decision to appear in an infomercial-style video, lavishing praise on a team of cosmetic dentists that gave her veneers. Jilson said it all probably hurts her chances with Trump, who has been auditioning a long list of potential VPs. I think that chaos that Trump revels in is chaos that he creates. Chaos created by somebody else simply detracts from the attention from himself. University of South Dakota political science professor Michael Card said that if it isn't the vice president's slot, it's not clear what's in Noam's political future, because she's prevented from running for another term as governor, and Noam as she is in her second term of governor. She could go after U.S. Senator Mike Round's seat or try to return to the White House. Try to return to the House of Representatives. It's not much that they promote cruelty as worldview. They have represent no room for humanity, for the lack of a better way of phrasing it. Yeah, I buy that. All right, folks, I got to get going. It is just over 7 o'clock. I got to get going. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. Thank you to No Justice MTG for rating. I appreciate it. Huge shout out to No Justice MTG. Thank you, Jane Doe, for hanging out and mixing it up in the chat. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Please consider following twitch.tv/Jane Doe and twitch.tv/NoJusticeMTG. Thank you, Footlong, for mixing it up in the chat. Wolf Glenn, Michael Hassler, Cognizant Heat, Mr. Satnav, thank you. I appreciate it. Bipedal Meatbag, I appreciate you mixing it up in the chat. I think I got everybody. Lost Zote, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Eric77 Thread, thank you. Rohak, thank you. Corwin Chalway, thank you for mixing it up in the chat. I appreciate it. Quad Bennett, thank you. Hambliss, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Heat, and thank you, Michael Hasser, for modding the chat. Thank you for your support, folks. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you want to keep supporting the channel, there are many different ways. Follow the channel, as so many of you have done today. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Keep it up. Continue to like the stream on the YouTube. I see you. Thank you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. There are many different ways to support the channel. Consider checking out the merch store at !merch. Join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. Do it. All right, folks. I got to get out of here. As always, folks, please, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. And I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. See ya. Hang tight, folks. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.